Man, I had a great childhood. I come from a big family. Grew up on a farm. My parents were both part of the family. They were very supportive. My mom, dude, she made the world magical to me as a kid. I would say after I hit puberty, about 14, 15 is when I started to dabble. I had gotten drunk for the first time at age 11, and then started smoking pot pretty regularly around 14. Was never the best in sports, was never the best student, but did well enough to stick around. Decided to go to college, relatively close to home. I got a scholarship to run track there. The first 2 years of college, I was depressed, anxious all the time. I held that together, got decent grades, performed on the field. And then the start of my junior year, I tore some ligaments in my ankle, which kept me away from the track team, but still going to school, and that's really what kick-started my addiction. The main drug of choice was methamphetamine in the end. Now I remember this very clearly. The very first time that I did it, I remember thinking in my head, this is so wrong. Everything that I've been taught and raised on and told about this is so wrong. I was spending a lot of time isolated, alone. I lost my scholarship, was not performing there anymore, had lost my team because of the choices I had made. I went down that path. Just really not having any goals, any plans, any future. I had no ambitions, really. I just was so caught up in the use that the world wasn't open to me and I wasn't open to it. Never had been a daily user of anything, got to the daily use point. Lied to myself, told myself I could quit on my own for a long time, and then it became pretty clear, towards the end of my college career that it was time. Barely graduated college, by my senior year, I was going to maybe 1 out of the 3 classes a week. And 2 days after I graduated college, I was down on my way to Oasis for the first time. Came to Oasis, was well received, loved the place, fell in love with recovery, and I can feel good about this and not have to be ashamed and hide everything. But it only lasted for so long. I didn't work a program. I didn't reach out for help when I needed it. I kind of just tried to white knuckle everything, and ultimately I got the same result. And I relapsed for about 7 months, which previous to that, my use was not as bad as those 7 months. It was like all that recovery in my head. I could hear the echoes of shares and meetings and whatnot. Until I surrendered, I was still miserable in my own feelings, even clean. I hadn't surrendered to the idea that this is what I'm gonna have to do to get better. I hadn't surrendered to the fact that I can never consume drugs or alcohol again. And now that I've gotten clean again and stayed clean, man, everything in my life has came back to me. It's the most meaningful thing I've ever done in my life. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. But as soon as I made that step and let other people in my life and stopped thinking that I knew everything, stopped acting as if the world was out to get me and that it was a dark place, stopped playing the victim, my world really opened up. I think that was the biggest piece in my recovery so far, was just giving in to what suggestions were given to me and what other people had to say. I used to have this grandiose idea that for whatever reason, I was born with a purpose and that it was my job to discover that purpose. Whereas now my perspective kind of has changed to, it's up to me to give my life purpose. And what better way to give my life purpose than to explore and to tackle something that's right in front of me. In active addiction, I was isolated a lot. By choice. I was so humiliated, scared, ashamed. I didn't want people to know I was on drugs, whatever. I'm with people all the time now. It's the greatest gift that's been given back. I've got my family back, who is the most important thing in the world to me. There's nothing on the face of the earth more important than family. There's a lot of things that I take for granted on a day-to-day basis that have been given back to me too. Waking up in a bed, going to sleep in a bed, having running water, showering, going to the gym, eating healthy, brushing my teeth, hanging out with people that are also pursuing recovery, being around people that are in recovery. I care about myself. I haven't cared about myself in a long time. Yeah, man, my entire life is back in a way that it never was before. I mean, everything right now I have in recovery, everything that I'm working towards, I feel like I've stolen from Jeremy in a way, but he's also given it to me. I think it's taken for granted on my end still at times how much he actually does for me. And our relationship isn't more than 5 months. I feel like I've known him my entire life. Jeremy has orchestrated my recovery in a way that I never would have dreamed of playing out. There's not much time with Jeremy that has been spent idly. He spends a lot of time trying to make recovery fun, trying to make life fun, while also taking it serious. but not too serious. Something he says all the time. He finds what you like to do and he incorporates it into whatever therapy you're doing with him. Hiking, ice baths, movement and yoga classes, whatever that may be. He'll take you to lunch, you know, whatever it is that you're looking for, he'll incorporate it.
Exactly, so we're down.
You know, my past at times seems like a lot, and you know, I constantly wonder, what can I do now to get better? What do I have to do now to get better? And Jeremy's made it pretty clear that, you know, the past may define you then, but it doesn't have to now. What they're doing here, what Jeremy's doing, is so rewarding. I mean, I owe everything that I have right now to it.